So hi everybody, so my name is Esther Delbourg. I was financed, my PhD thesis was financed by the AXA Research Fund, a PhD thesis that was in economics. I did environmental economics on water management of scarce water. I did it at the École Polytechnique in France, and I did it in partnership with the Earth Institute at Columbia University. So those were, amazing years. I said here that I did 3 years, but it was more 4.5. And the meaning of my being here today is to tell you that you've entered a sort of specific world of research where you're going to have a very intense, I think, and different relationship with your sponsor, with the institution that is financing your postdoc. And it might seem very, you might say, okay, I understand what this is, but in reality, AXA can really bring you things that very few other institutions can bring to you during your postdoc. And they can even, help you build your postdoc, but also your career after that. And that is really important. And back at the time, I was told the same thing, but I didn't realize what it really meant. And it's only, after 2, 3, and 4 years that I realized everything that I've accomplished. And it was really because of AXA, because my other fellow mates didn't experience the same kind of research here that I had with AXA. So it's not only about just saying that they're amazing, it's really about how everything you can exploit from what they can give you, and this is really important. So one of the things we did, and we're going to start with this as a sort of icebreaker, one of the things we did was a sort of film, a sort of little movie about my research. It was one of the ways to promote the research that I was doing. And since I work on water economics and specifically on food security and virtual water, I'm going to explain what it is in the movie. We did a movie, we shot at different locations. We shot in a farm, we shot in a supermarket, we shot in a market. And it was one of the ways I didn't see back at the time what this movie would really accomplish. And now every time I meet somebody or every time I go to a conference, people have seen this movie and they already know stuff about me, about my research. And it's a real sort of, it enabled me to become a sort of researcher with valuable information to give. Not just a brainy researcher doing research, but somebody that can actually explain things to people who are not in academics. So we can go we're going to see the movie. It's, you can laugh, it's okay. And we can talk about it afterwards.
I'm in the middle of Paris, I've got loads of water, I'm going to try to give it away in French. Oh, gratuit? Do you want some? No? Soif? Oh, gratuit? So it's surprisingly hard to give away free water, yet in just 25 years, everyone on the planet is going to be affected by a lack of fresh water. This is valuable stuff. But people don't really know how much water they use in one day. Do you?
Un bon litre et demi.
How many?
Maybe 3. 20 litres je pense. 6-7 litres, je sais pas.
You use, on average, 3,400 litres of water a day. 3,000. Plus de 3,000.
3,000?
Oui.
Just me? No. No.
In fact, of all the water on the Earth, only 0.5% of it is available to us as fresh water. And that is running out. But fortunately for us, there's a community of researchers who study very real risks like these and how to prevent them. Their work is supported by AXA, and their aim is to make our lives safer and healthier. This is Esther Delbourg. She's a researcher. Say hi.
Hi.
She's a researcher into water economy, the amount of water that we consume. It's known as your water footprint. I read that apparently I consume 3,400 litres of water a day.
First, you have the water that you consume, like the water you use for drinking, washing, flushing the toilets. And that's about 250 litres of water per day.
But that leaves well over 3,000 litres of water.
What's happening is that the rest of the water you consume every day is embedded in the food you eat. And that's what we call virtual water.
I'm eating 3,000 litres of water.
Exactly. And I'm going to show you.
Esther, what are we doing?
So today, Greg, we're going to go shopping, but we're going to pay for what it costs in water. Come on.
Oh, okay. Okay, how about 1 tomato?
So that would be 6 litres of virtual water. Okay, so that would be 12 of these.
Okay, all right. Au revoir. 1 potato.
15.
15 litres of water. I don't have enough.
an apple, that would be 40 liters.
40 litres. Right, dinner is going to be 1 tomato. How about a glass of wine?
Well, that would be 120 liters.
What?
So now you see that 92% of the water we use is actually to produce our food. Take beef, for instance. By the time you've watered it, fed it, run the farm it lived in, and taken it to the market, you've actually used 16,000 liters of water per kilo.
But hang on, surely most of that water is just going to come from the rain?
Well, it does, but rain is what we call blue water. Blue water is water you can see around you and extract to use.
So rain must be part of that. Streams, rivers, lakes, aquifers underground?
Exactly. But blue water isn't the only water available to us. We also have what we call green water. Green water is the water you can't see. It's stored inside the earth, the trees, the plants. But it becomes an issue when we extract too much stored blue water before the rain can replenish it.
Okay. Here in southern Spain, they grow loads and loads of fruit and vegetables, but the ground is very dry. There's very little green water in the soil. They collect as much rainwater as possible. Plus, they grow everything in polytunnels to keep as much of that water in, but it's just not enough. So they have to pump valuable blue water out from underground stores. If 1 tomato takes 6 litres of water to grow, imagine how much this lot takes. Food grown here has a much bigger water footprint than food grown in wetter places.
I want my research to help people make better choices about water and how much they consume.
So what better decisions can we be making?
Well, there's a lot we can do, but we could start by consuming this kind of cattle from a wet country with a smaller water footprint than, say, cattle coming from a drier country. So the same goes for everything. Take tomato sauce, for instance. One comes from Italy, one comes from China, but it takes twice as much water to produce a tomato in China than in Italy. So if you're looking to save water, you should take the Italian tomato sauce. But the Chinese one is so much cheaper that you will take that one, and that's what most people do. So in the end, maybe we should put a price on water if we want to help people choose their food more sustainably.
Maybe it will come to that at some point. So there you go, now you can see why water is definitely the most valuable resource on the planet. What about this one? Free water?
Sure.
Au gratuit?
Yes.
Free water? Au gratuit?
Ja, danke.
So you see what we did here. We just really simplified my research because we all know that research is more detailed, more complicated than what was just said in the movie. But we really simplified it into one basic topic, virtual water and the amount we consume. And we filmed, we switched locations so that nobody gets really bored. There's a communication with a journalist, there are people involved. And so once you have this sort of project to show, then you're becoming a sort of researcher that can, you're starting to have your own brand. You're starting to become something that's communicable, and then people want to invite you in to talk about it because they've seen you in a scenery that's professional and that's valuable. You're becoming valuable to them as a researcher. So why am I saying this? If you want to do something like this to promote your research, I'm guessing AXA will give you the opportunity to do it. So that's why you really have to rethink your postdoc as not only your research in your lab, but something that can become much more than what you're already thinking about. So what I did was trying to show you everything that I did with AXA. I think I came here like tons of times. Well, I was in Paris also, which was easier, but I came here tons of times to do tons of different things. And back at the time, again, I didn't realize the impact it would have today. Before going on this, just so you know, so during my PhD thesis, I created a small consulting company to work on water issues. And everything that AXA did, not only on my topic, but in general promoting research, helped me throughout my academic career, but also for that consulting company that I created. Because every time I came to a client, they would say, oh yes, we know what we did, we watched your video, so they would laugh, but it would be a good sort of first contact. And they would see the articles that I published, like in the Huffington Post, so they listened to the radio interviews, which are communication tools that non-academics have. and that we have papers, but very few people actually read your papers. And actually, you're the only one to read your paper, and perhaps your jury or something. But it's really important to have something that you can communicate about. So I sort of divided everything that I did with AXA and that you can do as well into 3 categories. The first one was everything that the AXA Research Fund invited me to do related to my own topic. So you will have opportunities to come back here or elsewhere and talk about your own topic, which is really important, and you'll be related to other researchers that are working on your topics. So there was this workshop on the evolution of cities and their ecosystems. I did a job as well trying to select people for the Outlook Awards of AXA, so other researchers being granted money from AXA, and we helped identify the ones that were the best in their categories. And there was this climate risks workshop. So these are all events that helped me, create my own network of other researchers that were outside my own field or outside my own direct network. Then there were all these promoting events, and this is where it becomes really fun. So there's the Greg Foot video, but before that, there's this photo contest that you might have heard about maybe already. And so really, if you can participate, I know maybe it's going to sound foolish, it'll take your time, but once you have this picture, because you'll take the time to do it, it's an invaluable communication tools. I think my website is actually the picture I took from AXA, where I'm sitting at my desk, and every object you can see has its own virtual water count. And I don't know how many times I've used this, but when you want to talk in a conference, even in an academic conference, you have a different tool to present yourself. And really, it really changes how people will remember you after your conference. The Pop Days, this is it. I'm guessing, I still am in contact with the people I saw in my Pop Days, so it was really valuable for the research. And then once you've gathered all these things, maybe you don't have the reflex to, but the AXA people are following each and every one of you, and they know what you're doing. So if you've published a paper, if you're going to a conference, if you have any news about your research or your lab, you should tell them, because then it goes into their RAF, AXA Research Fund newsletter. Again, it's not a newsletter like any other newsletter. It's read by people who are not necessarily in your field or by people who are not academics. And so this is how I came to the third part, which is building my own research brands. I didn't know, but just with the Greg Foot video, with the newsletter, and with the photo contests, because I posted all these things on LinkedIn, on Twitter, what happened is that I was contacted by the Huffington Post to write articles on water. So now I have my own blog, which would have never happened if they hadn't seen a tweet from my video retweeted by AXA. I mean, it was just stupid things, but then it just led to me having my own blog on the Huffington Post, which is pretty nice. Then there was this radio interview. Again, when you're saying to your friends or your future bosses that you're being interviewed on the radio, it gives you credibility. You become one researcher out of many, and you become sort of an expert in your field. Now, I know a lot of people in the academic area think that when you go onto the media or onto something that's more popular, you become a sort of traitor to academia. And I know in my own lab, I wouldn't always say that I'm doing other things, because it wasn't always seen as a very good thing that I was doing all these things. It was like, oh, she's wasting her time, or she's not focusing on the real research. But in the end, it was really fun. And then when you get to meet people, they see you as an expert, which you are in your own field, but they see you as an expert because you've communicated out to them. You've reached out to them through their own tools. So again, and it's not, what I'm writing here, I'm writing Twitter, Facebook. I know you all have these tools, but using them is another thing. Using them on a daily or a weekly basis is something that you should actually try to do. There are other things I did, like a contest for the thesis, where you have to actually synthesize your thesis in 3 minutes. I don't know how many times I've been on interviews and people had already seen that video. So again, it's just build your own tools, whatever you're comfortable with. But you should really find out if you want to, talk with your own voice, if you want to be on camera, if you just want to write. If you write, try to get out of what you're generally writing in academia. The first time I started writing it for the Huffington Post, it was an academic article. It wasn't interesting at all. It was only for us, but I went into two specific things. I had to open up the topic and talk about water, conflict, food security. I had to put all those big key challenges. And at first I thought, okay, this is not research. But in the end, it helped me so much getting out some messages out there that I don't regret doing it. So it's very good. And then I put it just for fun, but just because of the tweets and the LinkedIn, this editor called me like 2 weeks ago for a book proposal. So I don't know if we're gonna do it, but it's, those kinds of things that make you sometimes remember why we went into research, and that you can get a message out there to other people who are not in academia. So bottom line is to say, you already have these tools, but the AXA Research Fund can really help you make the most out of it. They can help you make them valuable in a way that maybe you didn't during your PhD, or if you did, then just build on that and build it even more, because it's, you're all here for that. And your topics have been chosen by the AXA Research Fund because they're right into among the most essential topics that you have today. So even if you have postdoc thesis titles that are very, very specific, we can talk about yours, for instance, you still can build it into something that everybody understands why you're doing it. Which brings me to the last point I wanted to say, and I think, so it's not my job, you've had a pretty amazing job about communicating around science, but you should always have in your head sort of the 3 major points of your postdoc, understandable by anyone who who isn't in your discipline. I know you've worked on that, but trust me, it's been the most useful thing I've had in the last few months was being able to say, my research does this and uses this and this and this as tools to actually show it. I know you can actually already do it, but think about, now you're doing a postdoc, and maybe in 4 years, you'll either be in academia or you'll be at the World Bank doing half academia, half something else, and then you'll be in a major company in 20 years, I don't know. You don't know where you'll be, and this is all tools that you can build right now and really, build your credibility. So I really encourage you to do it, and it's really fun, and it's enjoyable to have people saying, wow, this was great, I loved your video. And you're thinking, yeah, well, this wasn't half my topic, or this wasn't even, the 20th part of the thesis I did. But still, they're happy and they learned something. So I guess really use that, and use the AXA Research Fund. Just keep them posted on what you do, and don't hesitate to just exploit them as much as you can. It's really important. And I'm trying to think of the last. I had something I want to say as well. I think it's also important if you can write short summaries of your thesis and of your postdocs, and send it to them every 3 or 4 months, because maybe they can do something out of it. Put in the newsletter or just tweet it or something, and this will give you also maybe leverage to get more money in afterwards, because you're going to have to think about how you're going to be financed after the postdoc, and which university you're going to apply to, or that sort of thing. So it's really good. Try to build your daily life around these opportunities that you have. Good? You all got that?